Okay, so you know when you sent those articles about South Korea? Yeah. Gotta say, that headline alone was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Impeachment, martial law.
Yeah.
It's giving political thriller vibes.
Right. It's intense.
So let's break down this whole situation.
Sounds good.
How'd South Korea end up here?
Mm-hmm.
What's it mean for them going forward? And what's making this so much more than just your average headline?
You hit the nail on the head. There's a lot beneath the surface here.
Yeah.
Let's start with President Yoon Suk Yeol. Came into office back in 22. Conservative guy, former prosecutor. Actually had zero experience in politics before this.
I was going to say.
That's actually super important here.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, right? Like, prosecutors, they're all about the rules by the book, right? So maybe that didn't really work in the world of politics.
Yeah, you can totally see that reflected in his presidency. Low approval, those scandals surrounding him and his wife.
Right.
Plus that super tense relationship with Parliament, which, remember, the opposition controls. Recipe for, instability.
Totally.
Yeah, so you've got all this tension brewing, and then, bam, December 3rd hits.
December 3rd this year?
2024, yeah. That's when Yoon throws this curveball.
Oh, yeah?
Declares martial law.
Out of nowhere.
Cites threats from, quote-unquote, anti-state forces.
Yeah.
And tries to link it all back to North Korea.
Which is always,
Right. So,
big move.
Huge gamble. To understand why, though, you really got to get the weight of that word. Martial law.
Especially
in South Korea. It brings up this dark part of their history.
Right.
Military dictatorship, something many thought was, done and dusted.
They're long gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And based on what I'm seeing, people were not going to let history repeat itself.
No way. The reaction was like that.
Immediate
and intense.
That sounds right.
Lawmakers scrambling over fences to get into Parliament in the middle of the night.
What?
Yeah, to try and overturn that martial law decree.
Oh, wow.
Protests erupting instantly across the country.
Yeah, I saw that.
You even had K-pop stars jumping in.
No way, really?
Yeah, Yuri from Girls' Generation.
Oh, wow.
Showing support, even helping fuel the resistance.
Nah, I didn't see that.
Really shows how much this resonated with the South Korean people. I mean,
wow.
Across the board.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And speaking of those protests, you marked a few articles about citizens sending funeral flowers.
Oh, yeah.
To lawmakers' offices.
Yeah.
I thought that was so symbolic.
Totally. It's a...
what do you read into that?
I think it's a really powerful statement.
Mm-hmm.
Not meant to be threatening, but more like a symbolic mourning of what they see as this huge betrayal of public trust.
Yeah.
In South Korea, they have this deep sense of civic duty.
Right.
This belief that those in power are accountable to the people. So
it's like...
It's a powerful message.
Yeah. So Yoon trying to, control the story, right? Paint this image of imminent threat.
Yeah.
Totally backfired.
Big time. Instead of consolidating power, he alienated, a big chunk of the population.
Yeah.
Even members of his own party.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, the People Power Party. It's a conservative party, generally aligned with his ideology, but even they started to, distance themselves from his actions.
It's like he really underestimated the public's response.
He did, yeah.
And those online discussions you sent, they really capture that anger, the frustration.
Yeah.
But also this, determination of the South Korean people.
Absolutely.
They weren't just going to sit back and watch their democracy erode. No way.
No way.
So we've got a failed martial law attempt. Public super distrustful of Yoon.
Right.
What happens next?
Well, the opposition party is seeing this shift in public opinion and even within Yoon's own party. And they decide to, go for it. Call for an impeachment vote.
I'm guessing this is where things get really interesting.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
So that first impeachment vote, it actually failed.
Really?
Yeah, because Yoon's party, the People Power Party, they boycotted it.
Wow.
Bold move for sure, but really it just bought him some time.
Right.
The pressure just kept building,
Like this pressure cooker, right?
Exactly.
Martial law thing, the protests, all that public outrage, all leading to that second impeachment vote, December 14th.
Yep.
Man, reading these accounts, you can practically feel the tension.
Oh, yeah, totally. Palpable.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating.
Right.
The outcome of this vote really hinged on defections from Yoon's own party.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Remember, impeachment needs a 2/3 majority in Parliament.
Right.
The opposition, they didn't have the numbers alone. They needed members of the People Power Party to, like, break rank.
That's a
This huge whole nail-biter.
I bet everyone was glued to the news as that secret ballot was being counted.
Oh, I'm sure. Can you imagine
Yeah.
the drama unfolding?
Yeah.
Future of South Korea's presidency hanging in the balance?
Hanging by a thread.
Yeah, all coming down to a handful of votes.
Wow.
And then the result?
What happened?
204 lawmakers
Wow.
voted in favor of impeachment,
Uh-huh.
exceeded that 2/3 majority needed to remove Yoon from office.
Man.
Truly historic moment.
Wow. What a turnaround.
I know, right?
And you mentioned earlier that Yoon, as a prosecutor,
Right.
was actually involved in the impeachment of the previous president, Park Geun-hye.
Yeah, back in 2016.
Wild, right?
It's incredible, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
he played this key role in bringing down one president, and now he's facing the same fate.
Talk about, like,
Shakespearean.
Shakespearean, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So Yoon's out. What happens now?
Uh-huh.
Did he just hit the reset button in South Korea?
Not quite, no.
No.
First off, he's suspended from office right away,
Okay.
and the prime minister, Han Duck-soo, takes over.
Oh, okay, so an acting president.
Yeah, acting president.
Hmm.
But it doesn't end there.
Oh, okay.
The Constitutional Court now has 180 days
180 days.
to either uphold the impeachment or reinstate Yoon.
So there is a chance he could actually come back.
It's possible, but I'd say pretty slim given everything that's happened.
Yeah.
I think what's more likely is that the court will really dig into the legality of his actions, especially that martial law declaration.
Right.
There are calls for him to face criminal charges, even treason.
Wow, treason.
Serious stuff.
Yeah, that's huge.
And it really just underscores how high the stakes are here, you know? The political landscape in South Korea right now,
Yeah.
super volatile, lots of uncertainty.
I bet the whole world's watching this unfold.
Oh, for sure.
Trying to figure out what it all means.
Yeah, this isn't just some domestic issue. This
Right.
has global implications. In fact, you know, you highlighted some articles about how South Korea is kind of being seen as this cautionary tale about how fragile democracy can be.
Right.
Especially, you know, with authoritarianism on the rise globally.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a big deal.
Right, but you also pointed out some online discussions, right?
Yeah.
Taking a more, like, hopeful angle.
Yeah, for sure.
People actually inspired by the South Korean people's response.
Right.
Seeing it as proof that, you know, everyday people can make a difference.
Absolutely.
Hold the leaders accountable.
Yep. There was this quote from a Reddit user that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah.
They said, absolute win for democracy. And then it's the people and the parliamentarians who ran to parliament as soon as Yoon declared martial law that stopped dictatorship. A reverse January 6th, as someone put it.
A reverse January 6th. That's a
Yeah.
really powerful way to put it.
I know, right?
It really highlights that contrast
Yeah.
between a society that just passively accepts an attack on their democracy
Uh,
versus one that actively fights back.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
really gets to the heart of what's at stake here, you know?
Mhm.
The power of actually engaging.
Yeah.
How important a vigilant citizenry is.
Mhm.
And that democracy, it's not a spectator sport.
Right.
It's something we got to be active in, got to defend.
So even though it seems like this immediate crisis has been, you know, averted,
Right.
the long-term consequences, we don't really know yet. So what happens next in South Korea?
Well, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And the answer really hinges on a lot of factors.
Uh-huh.
One of the big ones, what happens with Yoon?
Right.
Will he face criminal charges?
Mm.
Will he try to stage a comeback?
Right.
Who knows?
And then there's North Korea.
Right. Yeah.
Remember, Yoon cited the threat from North Korea
As justification.
as a reason to declare martial law.
Exactly.
How will this whole impeachment thing affect the relationship between the two countries?
Oh, yeah, that's another layer to this whole thing. Some analysts think this could actually lead to a more, like, conciliatory approach toward North Korea, especially if a more liberal government comes into power.
Makes sense, but wouldn't that also depend on what North Korea does?
Totally.
They've been pretty quiet through all this.
Yeah, very quiet.
It's really impossible to predict how they'll react to this power shift in the South.
It is, yeah.
I mean, they could see it as an opportunity, right, to push their own agenda, or they could take a wait-and-see approach. Either way is something that needs close watching.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so lots of moving pieces.
Yeah.
Lots of uncertainty.
Lots of uncertainty.
If we zoom out a bit, though,
Okay.
what can we really learn from this? What are the like bigger takeaways?
Well, for me, one of the key takeaways is understanding history and context.
Okay.
We can't really grasp the significance of Yoon's actions,
Yeah.
especially that martial law declaration, without understanding South Korea's past struggles with authoritarianism.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a reminder that democracy is precious,
Right.
hard-won, and always vulnerable.
And it highlights the need for a free and independent press, too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we relied on these news articles and online discussions to really understand what was happening.
Yeah.
If those voices were silenced, we'd be in the dark.
Totally, yeah.
A free press is crucial for holding power accountable,
For sure.
for informing the public, for making sure that different perspectives are being shared.
100%.
And what about social media?
Oh, interesting.
You know, those online discussions really gave us a sense of what ordinary South Koreans were thinking and feeling.
Yes, social media played a huge role in this whole crisis. It allowed people to organize those protests, share info, express their opinions, all in real time. Also gave a platform to dissenting voices, people who were critical of Yoon.
So it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, totally.
Social media can be used to spread, misinformation, propaganda, but it can also be a powerful tool for,
of democracy.
Yeah, and activism.
Exactly, yeah.
It's up to all of us to be critical of the information we're getting,
Yeah, wherever it's coming from.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've talked about history, context, role of the press, social media. Anything else we should be taking away from this South Korea deep dive?
I think the most important takeaway, and the one I really hope our listener will think about, is the power of individual action. The South Korean people, they didn't just sit back and watch.
Right.
They took to the streets, they organized, they made their voices heard.
They sent those funeral flowers.
Yeah.
They rented buses.
They cleaned up after themselves.
Yeah, it's like they were saying, we're not just going to protest, we're going to do it with dignity and respect.
Yeah, exactly.
Powerful message for all of us, I think.
It is.
Democracy isn't just handed to us.
Right.
It's something we got to constantly fight for and protect.
100%.
So even though the situation in South Korea is far from over, there's a sense of, hope.
Yeah.
Possibility.
I agree.
That really comes out of this deep dive.
For sure.
It reminds us that even when facing, authoritarianism, the human spirit, that desire for freedom and self-determination, it can win.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
It's inspiring.
It is.
It really makes you think, right?
It does.
Like if this whole,
push and pull.
Yeah, push and pull between authoritarianism and democracies, global.
Right.
What's that mean for other countries?
I mean, the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think what happened in South Korea gives us like a lens to examine that. Okay. Remember how Yoon tried to use fear, painting anyone who disagreed with him as these anti-state forces? That's not just a South Korea thing.
Right.
I mean, we see that everywhere.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Leaders trying to exploit people's anxieties to hold on to power.
Yeah, it's like straight out of the playbook.
It is.
No matter what side of the aisle you're on,
Boy.
It's a reminder that we can't get complacent.
No, absolutely not.
And this is where you come in.
You got
our listener.
Yeah.
Don't fall into that trap of thinking it can't happen here.
Right. Exactly.
Stay informed. Be critical of the information you're taking in. And recognize those patterns when they pop up.
Yeah, be vigilant.
It really makes you appreciate what those South Korean citizens did.
It does.
I mean, they didn't just sit back and let it all happen.
No way.
They organized. They protested.
They held their leaders accountable.
And they did it responsibly.
I know, right?
Remember those stories about them cleaning up after the protests?
Oh, yeah.
They were saying, we're not just here to make noise.
Right.
We're here to protect our democracy.
Yeah, even when it gets messy.
Even when it gets messy.
Yeah.
It's almost like South Korea is holding up a mirror to the rest of the world,
Yeah, I like that.
Showing us how fragile democracy can be, but also the power of collective action.
It's both, for sure.
Yeah.
It is both.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks.
So as we
wrap up.
Yeah, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay, shoot.
Something we haven't really talked about directly, but it's been there under the surface this whole time.
Right.
In all these sources.
I think I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Pay attention to how the narrative gets shaped around these kinds of events,
Oh, yeah.
We saw how those loaded terms like
Anti-state forces.
yeah, anti-state forces
Right.
get used to discredit anyone who disagrees. Ask yourself, whose voices are being amplified and whose are being silenced?
That's a critical lens.
Yeah.
It's essential not just for understanding what went down in South Korea, but for understanding what's happening in your own country.
Yeah.
Your own community.
Right now.
Right now. Yeah.
That's a powerful takeaway.
It is.
Like a call to action for, engaged citizens everywhere.
Be engaged, yeah.
Because, like we've seen, democracy isn't a spectator sport.
It's not.
It takes participation, critical thinking, and a willingness to, speak up.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the South Korean impeachment.
Yeah.
Intense, insightful, and hopefully leaving you with more questions than answers.
That's what we want.
Yeah, because that's a sign that you're,
Thinking critically.
thinking critically.
That's the best kind of listener.
The best kind of listener we could ask for.
For sure.
Until next time, keep diving.